day in Black baseball history. And just want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. Before I get started here, hey, I have some wonderful things tonight to talk about. And so I think you'll enjoy this broadcast. If you're liking what I'm doing, guys, I give this appeal every night. Be sure and go out and, for the most part, share the broadcast, right? And I know, Bob Poet and Will, oh man, they do such a great job in just letting people know that I'm out here. Will from Hackensack, New Jersey, and Bob's from Nevada, if I'm correct, right? I think he's from Nevada, and they just do a great job. But if I had more people like them, man, I tell you, it would be even more fun to do this broadcast. But I always have a great time. It doesn't matter. And if you come here, you will learn things that you will not learn anywhere else. And I was pretty happy. I'm not sure. I think it was Bob that last night when I talked about the episode of Sammy Davis being a baseball player on Ben Casey, who went and looked that episode up and shared it in the broadcast in case somebody wanted to see it. I appreciate that. Certainly, I certainly do. So, anyway, I'm not going to hold you up very long tonight. Hopefully, you've been enjoying these broadcasts. Like I said, subscribe if that's something that you feel like you can benefit from here. And there's a lot of foolishness out here on social media. So, I try to give you something that is worth listening to. It's like maybe reading a newspaper or listening to someone. Of course, right now, you can put in my broadcasts and they're commercial free. Now, I don't know how long we'll keep it commercial free, but right now we're commercial free. And if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if there's a commercial at the beginning and then you get into the broadcast or what. But anyway, we try to keep it as commercial free as we can, and we can try to bring as much knowledge as we can. All right. So let's go with this. Get started with our February 26 edition. 226 2026, man. A lot of sixes and twos today. So here we go. February the 26th, 1869. You probably remember that year because that was the year the Cincinnati Redlegs turned professional. We always heard about that. I remember in 1969 when they celebrated baseball 100th anniversary. Yeah, I was a baseball fan, a little kid watching the guys play in 1969. So we're going to take you back to 1869. And William Henry Binga, a great shortstop, was born in Detroit, Michigan. And in 19, no, I keep saying 19, I'm going back even further. In 1899, he was a member of a very powerful team. That was the Columbian Giants, a team that worked out of Chicago. And they took their name from the Columbian Exposition. Hey, by the way, if you're ever interested in seeing anything about the Columbia exhibition, after they took down many of the displays back, this is turn of the century, there was a guy, I think he was in Waukene, Kansas, and they have the Wizard of Oz Museum there right next door, and it's the Columbian Theater. If you go down there, guys, he has the most authentic relics left from the Columbian Exposition. I need to go there. It's a theater and speak there one day at the Columbia Theater I think it's Waukene, Kansas, if I'm correct. It's right there on 70, right before you get to Abilene. So a little bit past Manhattan. If you ever traveled out 70 going through Kansas, going to Colorado. So all right then. So anyway, he was born that year and played for the Columbian Giants. And they had a great battery that year. Matter of fact, a guy named Pete Burns and George Wilson. Man, George Wilson is a guy I've written about a lot. I haven't written as much about Pete Burns. He's appeared in some of my books, but I haven't written about him as much. But Pete Burns was an awfully great catcher and somebody that deserves to have his name said more often than we're giving it credit for. And let's see. And because, he came back the next year. We're talking about Binga, and Binga played in 1900, and he's still shortstop, but it's hard to keep those good teams together. And of course, he ended up leaving there, and he ended up in 1902 playing with the Philadelphia Giants, played in 1903 with the Giants, Of course, he came back and played 1907 with the Giants and split part of that season with the Cuban ex-Giants. And when he played with the Philadelphia Giants in those later years, he was no longer a shortstop. He was a third baseman. And of course, in 1908, he was back in the Midwest playing with the Chicago Unions, and he ended up jumping early in the season to the Minneapolis Keystones. That was Mitchell's kids team, and so that's kind of the story. And if you go online, you can see where Saber has put a monument at his burial spot. But guy we don't talk about a lot is William Henry Binga. And so I just want to mention him tonight because he was born on February the 26th. Now, he played for Saul White. How much do you know about Saul White? Saul White today is a member of the Baseball Hall of Fame. But let me tell you a little bit about Saul White. And this is probably something you don't know. He started off in Bel Air, Ohio. That's where he was born. This guy, he went to an HBCU, which was Wilberforce University, studied theology and at Wilberforce in Xenia, Ohio. And in his hometown in Bel Air, they had three teams back in the day: the Lilies, the Browns, and the which were the Globes. That's what they were. And so he used to hang around with the Globes. And one day when he was hanging around, they wouldn't let him play, but he was hanging around. It's a white team. They wouldn't let him play, but he loved to hang around because he had already played a little ball. And anyway, one of their players got injured, and they were playing a team called the Marietta team, Maritta team, and he was able to get into that lineup with the Globes, and the Marietta team did not protest, and they let him play. And just so happens that the captain of that Marietta team and the second base was a guy by the name of Ben Johnson. I don't know if you heard of Ben Johnson. Went on to be the president of the American League. Yeah, so White had a run-in with him, especially early on, and he knew him very well. And of course, back in 1889, White was playing for the New York Gorhams, and believe it or not, guys, he was getting this is the 1800s. It was tough. You think it was tough for ball players in the Negro Leagues later on. Just imagine how tough this was. He was getting $10 a week plus expenses. Probably expenses didn't even equal up to the $10, right? And of course, he played for them, played first, second, first base, second base. And the guy who was leading that team was a guy named Ambrose Davidson. And in 1927, okay, first of all, let me go back. You know, Saul White published the first kind of a history book of blacks in baseball. That was in 1907. But in 1927, he had written an updated version of that book, and he had wanted to publish it. And he said he wanted to call it the second edition of the old one that was bringing the game up from 1907 up to date, which was 1927. And he put out an appeal. He said, if there is anyone anywhere in sports circles who thinks enough of what has been done before to help me print this record, he would be glad to hear from them. So evidently, that book never came out, so nobody probably called him. At least they didn't follow through, and the book never came out. And he closed with this appeal. He said, without a doubt, this record will prove valuable in the years to come. Just imagine if we had that book today, how valuable that would be. Yeah, that was Saul White. Saul White, one of the great ones. Hey, I happen to think, now guess what? I'm a pretty biased guy, and most people know that I'm a biased guy. But I happen to think that Saul White at the turn of the century was a superior manager to John Muggsy McGraw and also Cornelius McGillicuddy, Connie Mack. Yeah, I happen to think that because actually he was still a superb player, and he was also a superb player manager. And he performed his feats, and we're talking about Saul White, with a lot less economic power. And he was able to win more games. He was actually the first manager in modern time, starting with 1900, to win 500 games. He actually achieved that feat before Frank Chance did with the Chicago Cubs. So he won 500 games. And this is Saul White. And I am so happy that today he is a member of the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. But I think besides him and Pete Hill and Rube Foster, who was on that team. Those are the only guys that have been admitted to the Hall of Fame. But there are some other ones. I like Bill Monroe a lot. Bill Monroe was just a superb player. So anyway, can you imagine somebody being a better manager than John McGraw or how about this, Connie Mack? Yeah, it's true. It's true, guys. And so I would roll my sleeves up and tell you, you need to dig a little deeper into Saul White. All right. So anyway, hey, if you are listening to me and you like what we're doing here, let me know where you're joining from. Okay. And we got a few people. Someone said hello. I appreciate that. Yeah, let me know what city you're in. Okay. And if you like what I'm doing here, guys, be sure to subscribe. All right. Okay. We only have a couple of more, and I think you may find this interesting because I know most of us watch movies and all of that. But February 26th, 1898. Man, I can't even get into the 1900s yet. But anyway, 1898. Baseball player and actor Edgar Blue Washington is born in Los Angeles, California. And in my estimation, he was a baseball player who was the most successful as a boxer of all the guys in the Negro National League who boxed, right? And I think he is the one that won as many bouts. Of course, I'm going to rule out Jack Johnson because Jack Johnson was really a boxer who came and played a few baseball games, but Edgar Blue Washington actually played, and he spent a year, 1920, part of the year, in the Negro National League with the Kansas City Monarchs. So he actually played in the league, played before the league. Interesting to find out, he started acting, and he was in a movie called The Haunted Spooks. That was like 1919, 1920, silent movie. And so he was been in there a long time. But now, how about this little trivia question? What was the last movie that he appeared in? And how about this? What was the last TV show, a television show that he appeared in? All right. So guys, if you want to go to your computer, boom, hit that in there real quick. You can. I'm going to count to 5, and then I'm going to give you the answer. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, here we come with the answer. All right. So the last movie he appeared in was 1961, a movie with Paul Newman called The Hustler. Yeah, he appears in The Hustler, and in that movie, he played the role as a limping attendant at the Ames Billiard Hall. And so, if you watch that movie and you see the guy limping, then you know that you see Edgar Blue Washington. Believe me, not a lot of black people in these movies, so he's kind of easy to identify. That's Edgar Blue Washington, a great athlete. And guess what? His son, Kenny Washington, was an outstanding football player, too. All right. One of the early guys drafted into the NFL. Okay. And how about this? His last television show was in 1961. It was called The Asphalt Jungle. And he was in the final episode of that ABC police drama. And in that episode, it was titled The Scott Machine. And it aired June 25th, 1961. And Blue Washington appeared as an uncredited role as a reporter. So maybe, hey, Bob, I know Bob, you probably catch this broadcast later on. Bob, if you can find that episode, click that one in so people can see Edgar Blue Washington, right? I'm going to go tonight and I'm going to dig in and see what I can find. But yeah, so it was called The Asphalt Jungle. So you have a guy who played the Negro Leagues appearing in television shows. How about that? And so this is history, guys. You can't make this up. And guess what? This is information that you typically won't get anywhere else. Guys, I'd love to eat this stuff up because this is what makes it interesting to me. Now, if it's interesting to you, give me a few hearts just to let me know if I'm on point, right? Because if I'm on point, I want to keep giving you more of this type of information, right? So that's Edgar Blue Washington, okay? And let's see. How about this? We're going to go to another guy, another legendary person. January 26, 1913, John Bud Fowler, all right? He died in Frankfort, New York. And this guy, he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. but he did get in 2021, I think it was. And I had the pleasure of going out to Cooperstown. That was the same year that Buck O'Neill was enshrined in the Hall of Fame. And they had, at that particular time, they had, who was that? I'm going to call his name, speaking in his behalf, right? And so, and he went out to the cemetery. Now, I've had the pleasure of going out to the cemetery, and the guy I want to say who spoke in his behalf was Dave Winfield. Yeah, so that was John Bud Fowler, alias John Jackson was his real name. He's the only baseball player in Cooperstown, enshrined in Cooperstown, who actually lived for a time in Cooperstown. How about that? And I have a great video where I went to the cemetery. I'm going to put that up tonight. I'll just reshare. I'll just share it again. It's been shared before, and of me going out to the cemetery. Man, I love talking about Bud Fowler because this guy was one of the true pioneers. And I tell you what, you can't talk about the early years of the Negro baseball experience without mentioning John Bud Fowler, right? Yeah, he even came. I live in Kansas, right? He even spent a year playing in Kansas, in Topeka, Kansas. And that year, believe it or not, he was walking to the park one day and was attacked by a dog. And he ended up missing a game or two because he had to have stitches from a dog attacking him. Can you imagine that? I don't know what kind of dog this was. I don't even know why the dog wasn't on a leash, but that was Bud Fowler, right? John Bud Fowler. And I've gone some of the places where he has appeared. For instance, there's a picture of him wearing a Keokuk uniform, and he's with the Keokuk team. One of the rare pictures of Fowler. And years ago, I went to Keokuk and was able to present not only a Bud Fowler, but other teams who came through Keokuk, Iowa. Interesting little city. Interesting. And I'm trying to think of the name of the park. The park there, actually, the hotel I stayed in was on the same grounds where the park used to be. I can't remember that name park. Guys, if you think about the places I've been in 46 years, I've been all over the country. So Joyce Park, that was the name of it. Joyce Park. I remembered it. Just came back to me. I don't know how I remember half of these things. This is just it's just a part of my life, guys. So what I'm doing is telling you about my life and my life in baseball. Now, I will tell you this. There are a lot of people out there talking about the Negro Leagues right now. And when I first started, it wasn't many. But the way that I started, guys, was very genuine. And then also, I did things that people today, first of all, they can't do because I went and interviewed players. Now, they can go interview families if they want to, but a lot of them won't even do that. They'll pick up the phone. Hey, I would come to your house and sit with you. I would bring pictures. And I remember there was a guy named Wilburn Ashes Jackson, played for the Kansas City, Kansas Giants, played for the Lexington Tigers. And I had a picture of the Kansas City, Kansas Giants from 1909. And I know he was in that picture, and his daughter was still alive. She was living in Kansas City. This has been 30 years ago. So I said, I called his daughter. I said, I'm going to bring this picture by, and you can help me identify which one is your dad. So when I got there, she looked at the picture. She said, hey, that's my dad right there. She said, hang on just a minute. I'm going to show you something. She called her son, and he came downstairs, and he looked just like the guy, his grandfather in the picture. I said, man, now that's amazing. And so I pegged him right off because his grandson looked just like him. And he's in the team picture, right? That was Wilburn Ashes Jackson. This guy was just a great ball player. And he used to drive a motorcycle around Lexington, Missouri. Guys, I'm telling you, you wouldn't know this information unless you listen to a broadcast like this, guys, because I rolled up my sleeves and went out and did the work. And people now will listen to your work, and then they'll start talking about it like they did the work. But the truth of the matter is some of these people have never done primary source research. And guys, for me, I always tell people I don't have a job, I have a passion. And my passion is why I'm here today, 46 years into this history. And I'm here to tell you things that you will never, get anywhere else unless you listen to this broadcast. All right, Sin. I'm going to give you one more, and then I am out of here for tonight because I try to keep it off, keep it going at 20 minutes, and I'm at 20 minutes now, so I'll wrap this one up. Maybe I'll come back and talk a little deeper on this guy tomorrow. But February 26, 1928, Rap Dixon went 2 for 3, scored a pair of runs in a 5-4 win over Jack Roach's San Diego team out in Los Angeles, California Winter League action. And Bill Holland tossed a 6-hitter and struck out 10 batters. So those are good names right there, Bill Holland. Now remember, there's 2 Bill Hollands. There's the Bill Holland from the turn of the century, and then there's the Bill Holland that played starting with the Detroit team of the Negro National League and goes to the New York Black Yankees and plays later. So don't get those 2 men confused. There are more than one Bill Holland. And Rap Dixon, just a great player from Stilton, Pennsylvania. All right. So anyway, guys, that does it for me tonight. I don't want to keep you too long. I do appreciate everybody who's been supporting me. If you like what I'm doing, I just ask 2 things, guys. Share my broadcast, and then also make sure you subscribe so you can catch it when I come on. And guys, I'm going to start bringing some more diverse kind of things. Like tonight, we're talking about movies and TV. At the same time, we're talking about Negro League. Can you imagine? In 1961, guys, I'm thinking I'm like 5 years old, and Edgar Blue Washington is still appearing on TV, right? So anyway, but yeah, and then we went way back to 1869 when William Benga was born. So we're spanning the whole universe of time with this broadcast, guys, and we're doing it in a way that few people can. So I hope hopefully you're enjoying this, right? Because I am, because you challenge me to use all that I have to continue to think about things that I don't always think about, but I love talking about whenever I can, right? All right, so guys, 22 minutes, way past my time. This is Phil Dixon with another edition of This Day in Black Baseball History. I'll see you real soon. And hey, matter of fact, I'll see you tomorrow. All right? Thank you. Have a nice evening, and I plan on seeing you again with some more baseball facts. Have a good night. Bye.